Hello, Partnership Realty family and realtors. How are you guys doing today? It's good to see you guys once again here. Today, we're going to be filling out a listing agreement. So we're going to be doing a transaction broker listing agreement, and we're going to go over all the steps and all the forms that you're going to need as well too. First of all, we want to start out by going into our form simplicity, our Flex MLS. There's Flex MLS, and then we're going to go into our form simplicity. Our form simplicity is up there on the upper right hand side, or you can come down to menu and select it. Now we can create a shortcut. You see how it's highlighted right there? Here's the shortcut up top, but see how form simplicity at the bottom has a yellow star or a gold star? Well, in this case here, we're going to click the gold star, and you're going to see how the shortcut's going to go away. So we're going to click on the gold star right next to form simplicity, right here. Go back to menu, go down, products, and we're going to click here, and your shortcut is actually gone. So we're going to create a shortcut. All you have to do is, when it's not highlighted like that, once you click the highlight, there's your shortcut up on top. So we're going to go straight to form simplicity. And now you're going to come into form packages. It's right in the middle, or it's up on top as well too. See where it says packages? So you can click on either one, the blue tab right in the middle, or you can click on the top. So now we're going to something else that I've told you guys in other classes. You need to get familiarized with all the packages that we at Partnership Realty have created for you, with all the forms that you need, from residential sales to rentals to commercial real estate to vacant land and so forth, logos, and everything is there. You need to get familiarized with it, but today we're doing a listing. So here is the listing package right there. So we're going to click on that, and here is all your forms you're going to do and you're going to need. So we're going to go directly into a PowerPoint package that we have prepared for you, and we've highlighted with emboxed in the documents that you're going to need. So we're going to open up the PowerPoint for you, where you're going to be able to see this is your actual listing package that's inside your form simplicity. See where it says the listing package up on top? Number one, what you're going to need is the exclusive right of sale listing agreement transaction broker. Why? Because Partnership Realty is a transaction broker. So that's the first document you're going to need. The second document, number two, seller's property disclosure. Extremely, extremely important and very required. Okay? Seller needs to fill it out. They're going to go over everything, the details of the home, and you have to have that filled out. And once you have it filled out, even if you want to upload that into your listing agreement, onto your MLS listing, you can put it in there. Or once you get an offer and the buyer's agent is requesting it and the buyer's requesting it, you want to be able to email it to them. So you can either upload it into your documents in your MLS listing, or you can actually send it to them once it's been requested. But seller's property disclosure is very extremely important. If a seller doesn't want to give you a seller's property disclosure, I highly recommend that you guys get either a text from the seller or an email stating that they don't want to provide it. Then you'll take a snapshot, or you'll print out that email and you'll put it inside your package that this is a document that the seller didn't want to provide. Third, here's your listing guide. We're going to be going over this in a little bit, but I just want to show you all these documents that we've highlighted and read here are in your listing package in your MLS. So third is your listing guide. We're going to go over it in just a short while. Fourth is seller's net proceeds. All these documents are important. This is very important as well too. Why? Because your sellers need to know an estimate of how much they're going to receive at the time of closing. Now, granted, there's two ways of doing it. One, as a professional realtor, you want to be able to calculate and write down, have the sellers sign it, or the seller sign it, and you sign it as well too, of an estimate of what they're going to get at the time of closing. You can always get from our title company, Partnership Title, a preliminary HUD. Again, you can get both. It's something nice to have, so when you can show it to the seller, and you'll have a good estimate. But in order to get a preliminary HUD, you're going to need a lot of the documents, and you have to follow the steps that we're going to go through in a couple of minutes. So also, number 5 is the affiliated business agreement. Partnership Title and Partnership Realty are one and united. So this is another document that's a disclosure that we're letting the sellers know, and all other parties as well involved, whether it's the buyer, the buyer's agent, everyone, that we are affiliated, and they don't have to use us. They don't have to use the title company of the choice to use any other ones, but if they do decide to go with us because of our good services and our good rates, then we do need that document in there. As well, I want to go back to number 4, seller's net proceed. We will be doing a class tomorrow, 2 classes tomorrow virtual, on how to fill out that document. So be tuned for tomorrow. We're going to be posting at what time. We're going to be doing these classes, but we will be showing you guys how to fill out the seller's net proceeds. Regulatory and compliance, it's the same thing as a transaction fee or processing fee. It's our processing fee. It's the document that you want filled out. You guys need to open up all these documents, get familiarized with them. You guys need to do test packages at home too on how to fill this out. It truly takes no more than 10 minutes to fill all the documents out. It is so simple once you get to know it. Of course, it's going to take us a little bit longer today because we're going to be going step per step on how to do this. So the next thing we want to do is we want to take a look at the checklist. This is one of the documents that you looked at here. All of this, again, is inside your Forum Simplicity listing package. So the checklist is right here. What do you need? Well, you need the exclusive right of listing agreement. You also need the seller's property disclosure, as we discussed. You need the lead base. Any property built before 1978, we have to have a lead base. That's also inside your package. But if the property was built after 1978, then it's not required. So that document, it needs to be signed by both parties, buyers and sellers. It's a requirement. HOA bylaws. We've gone over this in numerous other classes before. This is something that we need to provide at the time that they submit the offer, or you can actually upload this document and have it under documents in your MLS listing. So you'll have it there, and the ones that you want is last year's bylaws or last year's rules and regulations. So it'll be in the year 2019. Every year, the condominiums associations, they get together and they come up with new rules and regulations. So you want to upload them because we have 3 days to provide that to our buyers. So it's very important that you upload that document and you get that prior to, and you get this. If the sellers don't have it for any reason, you need the HOA's contact information. You need the HOA's application as well too. And you want to be able to go yourself and get this before you even put this listing uploaded into the MLS. Seller's net proceeds, we're going to be going over that tomorrow, how to fill it out. It's going to be the seller's closing costs. This is going to show a seller what their closing costs are, and it's the same thing as a preliminary HUD that you're going to have. Homeowner's mortgage statement. We need a current mortgage statement. So we have to order a payoff. The title company needs to get a payoff. And when you guys are doing the seller's net proceeds, you have to have an idea of how much is owed on the property. So again, these are only estimates, but at least we're giving them a really good rough estimate. And we're very close as well too on the dollar figure of what they're going to be receiving at the time of closing. So we need a current mortgage statement. Do ask if they have a first and a second mortgage or a home equity line of credit, because sometimes they might have what's called a HELOC, home equity line of credit. So you need to get the the statement for the first mortgage, if there's a second mortgage, or if not, if there's a line of credit. We need to get both of them because that's going to be required at the time of payoff. Affiliated business disclosure, as we discussed a few minutes ago. We want to let them know that both companies are affiliated, and we need all parties to sign this. Now, expired listings and cancel listings. There's the documents that you're going to need because you have to send us everything, and we have to file it away per state law. So everything's there, and also where you're going to send the document, the emails of where you're going to be sending it. So I want to show you guys the listing guide at the moment. Here's your listing guide. This guide right here is something that you're going to need. Something that you're going to need when you go to get your listing. So you need to know the size of the living room. You need to know the size of the family room. You're going to need to know the year, CBS, frame. All of this is going to have to be filled out. Okay. So this is our documents that are going to need to be filled out, and so you need to take this with your listing and get it filled out at that time, because you'll need this for your MLS report. So let's take a look at the listing steps. Listing steps right here. The CMA. Whenever we do a market analysis or we do a CMA, we want to make it within a 1 mile radius. We want to look at the actives. We want to look at the pendings. We want to look at the sold. I'll give you an example. A home that's 1,300 square foot, we really don't want to look at and get our comparable to be a home that's about 2,500 or 2,300 square foot, because those are two different properties. We need it to be about 200-300 feet less or 200 or 300 feet more. So if it's less, we are going to add per square footage, and if it's more, we're going to deduct per square footage. But you need to stay within the range of 900 to 1,600 if you have a listing or a subject property of 1,300 square feet. Seller's net proceeds, it's very, very important. It should be inside your file because it's going to be signed by the seller. It's going to be signed by you as the realtor of how much they're going to receive at the time of closing or the preliminary HUD. Listing agreement, the cancellation fee. If we incurred any costs, like for example, any marketing, any flyers, any magazines, did we do professional photos? Did we do virtual tours? There's many different costs involved, so you might want to put that in there. You might want to call me as well too, and it's per case. It's not required to put in there. Measurements and photos are very important. Photos, please take professional photos because the photos are exactly an image of you and your work. If there's someone else that's looking at your listings and you have photos that are just not too sharp, not too nice, what's going to happen if someone's thinking about listing their property with you, if they're thinking about listing their property, they just might not. And they might have a $750,000 home, $1.3 million home, and they really are looking for a professional realtor with professional photos. So that's why it's worth spending the money. And we have companies that charge anywhere, they're not affiliated to us, but we know of companies anywhere from $100 to $120, $150. They take unlimited photos, virtual tours, drones, and so forth. I recommend, even if it's a $30,000 condo that you're selling, a $50,000, $60,000 condo, $150,000 home or $1.5 million home, that you always take professional photos because it's an image of you and your work. Measurements are extremely important. If you're doing a living room and the living room, for example, is 15 by 12, or a family room or a bedroom 10 by 15, and when you're doing the measurements and it actually doesn't come out to quite 11 feet. It only comes out to 10 feet and 8 inches. Please just round it down to 10 feet. Don't put the 11 feet in there because it's truly not 11 feet. I prefer to be short. If the clients really want to know, they could get the measurements inside themselves. I recommend them. And you always put in all your listings that all measurements are only estimates. So they need to know that these are only estimates. So you put this in every single listing under public remarks, that all measurements are only estimates. Poles. I recommend that you guys use poles for your signs. And in your signs, your photo needs to be there. It's extremely important to have your photo. Why? Because you are your own entity. People remember faces. They don't quite remember names sometimes, but when they see your face in different marketing, on car magnets, on just anywhere that you're doing marketing or other listings that you've got, they see your face and they go, oh, geez, I remember him. I remember her. She's a realtor. So they remember faces. So I recommend on your signs that your photo is there. It's very important. Now, I don't recommend just the yard signs that you just kind of, with your foot, just kind of pry out into the ground. Why? We live in South Florida. We have tropical winds here all the time. And tropical wind can actually blow the sign over. It could tilt it sideways. You got the landscaping companies. They're not thinking about your sign. They look at your sign like being in the way mostly, okay? So they'll take it out. They'll throw it on the actual yard. They might put it back, but they're not going to put it back. They're not going to put it back professionally, lined up. And it could be dirty and so forth with some, grass debris and things like that. So if there's another individual or individuals in that community that's thinking about listing their home and they see that you've got a sign that's one of those yard signs that's tilted, it's full of grass debris, it's lying on the side of the yard, it's not a really good image of a realtor. I don't really recommend that. I recommend that you order a pole and then you hang your sign on this pole, and regardless of our weather, not hurricane weather, but any of our tropical weather, or when they do mow the lawn, your sign's gonna be intact there. So I recommend you guys use Proactive. This is the pole here, as you see the white pole, and your for sale sign with your photo, of course, it's gonna be on it. This is a really good company that we use. This company, once you put the order in, they get out there really quickly and they put your pole up for you. And all you have to do is go and hang your sign up. So we're going to look at a MLS right now, and we're going to show you how to go to your listing agreement. We're going to fill out a listing agreement. So you're going to go into the MLS. You're going to go to Form Simplicity. And you're going to go to Listing Packages. So Form Packages, sorry. And now you're going to go into and find the listing packages. So there is your listing package right there. Now remember earlier, we actually marked all of the documents where they're located at. So here they're not, but if you can go back on through YouTube, you can go back. And also when you go to YouTube, hit subscribe, because every time that we post a class like tomorrow, you guys are going to be notified of all the upcoming classes. So please do click on subscribe. And if you go on Facebook, hit like. So you'll get notified of all what we're doing. So again, we're going to choose what documents we're going to require. If there's an HOA, if there's lead-based document, anything like that. But today we're just going to fill out a listing agreement. So we're going to click on the listing agreement. So another thing you want to do is you want to open up Palm Beach County Property Appraiser. So PAPAS. Why? Because all the information is going to be there, from the owner's names to the living square footage to the total square footage. It's going to have the legal description. It's going to have the partial ID number. A lot of informative information, very important information is going to be there that we're going to need to copy paste and put it into our listing agreement. So, for example, here's our listing agreement, but we're going to go into Palm Beach County Property Appraiser, and we're just going to select the property there. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy paste the address, and we're going to use as the seller, we're just going to use Tim Allen. Just write it in. We're going to type it in. In your case what you guys are going to do is you're going to copy paste that seller's name that's already in there. But we're just going to use Tim Allen. No, we don't need to do it. Just go to the listing, go back to the listing, and just type in there Tim Allen. Okay? So the dates, number 6, as we look up, go to number 6. Everything is starred. It's very important that whenever we have a star next to a number, that means it's a very important line that we need to fill in, okay? So if we have, for example, a 6-month listing, a 4-month listing, or a 1-year listing, so we're going to put in there today's date, and let's say it's a 6-month listing. So we're going to go back and we're going to do 6 months. Now, number 15, we're not going to go copy paste it, but the legal description can go into Palm Beach County Property Appraiser. We're not going to do it. You can go into Palm Beach County Property Appraiser. You can just copy paste it and go back to the listing agreement. And you're just going to paste it. In this case, we're not going to do it, but for future references, all you have to do is just copy paste on that there. So the legal description, the parcel ID number. Number 17 is really important. We're not going to completely fill it out, but you want to put in there what's going to stay with this listing, whether it's the range, the refrigerator, the dishwasher, the microwave, the garbage disposal, washer, dryer, pool equipment, etc., etc., etc. So we're going to put you're going to put everything in there. If there's additional items because they don't fit in there, you can go in there and click there where it says see attachment. So we're going to go to number 20. And if the property is owner occupied, we're going to click owner occupied. What if it's tenant occupied? Then we want to click that it is tenant occupied instead of owner occupied. And we want to put down when the listing expired if it's tenant occupied. So this is really important there on number 20. And in this case here, we're putting owner occupied. We're going to come down to number 21 and 23. Let's just put a property, we're coming up with just the number there of $390,000. Whenever you do your CMAs, or your market analysis, you're going to come up with the value of the property. We've done CMA classes, so you can go back and review those. And so if the property is a property that qualifies for cash, conventional, VA, and FHA, you want to click all that. Also, other could be a private lender, someone that's going to go through a private lender, a hard equity loan. So we want to click on that one there. Seller financing, we have had cases where a seller has had the home free and clear, and they have said, listen, if they put X amount of money down, I'll hold a note for, certain, they'll come up with the terms between the buyer and seller. They'll agree to it. And, but in this case here, we're not going to put anything down because this is on a per case basis. So we don't know if the seller's going to, has the property free and clear, and do they want the property paid off, or do they prefer to hold a mortgage on it? We're going to come in here into assumption of mortgage and existing mortgage. That really we don't see anymore. Okay, there are no mortgages that you can just transfer over. Every mortgage, if it does have a clause in it that the buyer can assume it, it has to qualify. It's just like applying for a brand new mortgage. So we're not going to fill anything in there. We're going to leave that open. Number 37. Well, we don't really need to fill anything in there as well, too, because we don't know once a buyer submits an offer if the buyer wants the seller to help out with closing costs. So maybe the buyer could be requesting a 6% closing, 5%, 4%, or 3%. So we'll just leave that open until our offer comes in, and then we'll present it to the seller or sellers and see what they decide. Broker's obligations, these are documents since we don't have a lot of time, I'm not going to go into complete details with everything, but you guys do need to read every paragraph, get familiar with it, and you need to know how to explain this to your sellers once you sit down with it. Also, what we're going to do as brokers, we're going to be putting it in the MLS. Once we put it in the MLS, this does go viral. I mean, this can be seen everywhere. So there's a lot of softwares out there like Trulia.com. These are search engines like Trulia and Zillow, Realtor.com. All of those are going to be, just marketing these properties as well too. And there's a lot of other smaller companies that haven't quite made it as big as them that are also promoting the property. So do we want the property displayed in the internet? I would have to say yes. Again, this is just my opinion. Because the more exposure this property gets seen everywhere through the internet, the more chances you guys have of having a buyer see this property and contacting you or contacting a local realtor and getting this property sold for your seller, for your contractors, or for your investors, and so forth. Use of a lockbox. I highly recommend a Supra, because a Supra, we as realtors have control of who comes in, we know the name of the realtor that's coming in, what company they work for. Once they get showing instructions, we have all of that information. We're going to give them access to the property. We're going to know when they went in, how long they went in, they were there, and when they actually came out. An actual combination lockbox is more for a vacant home, but I do recommend that you ask your sellers or seller which one of the two they prefer, if it's a combination lockbox or a Supra. I recommend a Supra because we have a lot more control of everything that's going on. And besides, the Supra at a certain hours of the night and weekends, no one's going to be able to access it and get in. Verbal offers. I'm not big on verbal offers because verbal offers really don't hold a lot of weight. And if you do take a verbal offer, you can't really enforce it either. But what happens if you take a verbal offer and then a written offer comes in, and this written offer is someone that really is interested. They took the time, they wrote up the offer, they signed the offer. Here's proof of funds if they're buying cash. Here's a pre-qualification, an escrow deposit, and so forth. Now you have a really valid offer there. So verbal offers, this is something you have to discuss with your seller, and let them decide if they want to entertain verbal offers or not. I'm not big on it, again, but that's just my opinion on it. Virtual websites, again, this is something that you have to all of this you have to discuss with your sellers. I love marketing. I love this property to be seen, listings to be seen everywhere. So this is something you want to discuss with your seller, and you want to see this property and let all these search engines, let them market your property, because we have a chance of selling the property a lot quicker. We're going to skip through a lot of this here because stuff that's I'm just going to show you what you guys need to fill out, but you do need to get familiarized with every paragraph that we are skipping through it. It's just that I apologize we don't have the time to go through it thoroughly in detail. We're very limited in time as well too, but 99 is very important. That's your commission. The commission is something that's negotiated between yourself and the sellers. And the average is about 6%, but what if they don't want to pay 6, they want to pay 5 or 4? This is something that you're going to have to negotiate it. You could always contact me. I'm available 7 days a week for you. And you'll discuss it between yourself, with us, the seller, and we'll agree upon some type of terms. But in this case, we're only going to use 6%, which is the norm. So 6% there is going to be, I always just like putting 6%. I won't put a value on that because we don't know what the seller's going to accept. We have a property here that we're listing for $390, but what if we get an offer at $370 or $380 and the seller decides to accept it? So we're going to do 6% of whatever the accepted price is. Lease options, don't really see those anymore, but if there is a lease option, do call me, contact me. I'll assist you guys with helping you structure that. If the seller decides that he would consider a lease option, do call me. We're not going to go into details on that one there. Just contact me, and we'll actually handle that when the time arises for it. A lease. There are cases where, the sellers will allow and they prefer to maybe lease the property. So what do you put there? It's usually the first month's rent. So you can either put there, and it depends on the lease. Sometimes they're 10%, sometimes they're 5%, or you can put 4.7%, which pretty much comes out to the same commission. So there again, if they're considering leasing it, do look at one of our leasing classes, but do contact me if you need the assistance and the help with it. Number 117, which is the retainer of a deposit. I'm not big on that, so you're never going to get me to agree with something like that. This is on a first come. This is going to be on a per case basis. You want to contact me on that one there. We'll talk about it, but that's something there that truly it's going to be, the sellers. So any escrow deposits, you're going to contact me and so forth on that there. So we've got 6% seller contribution. What we're going to do if we have a cooperating broker and another agency brings the buyer in, so we want to put on line 123, 3%. Okay? You don't have to put any dollar amount on it because we really don't know what the offer is going to be. So, but it's going to be 3% of whatever the accepted price is per the two parties. Now, that is for, number one, it's going to be for a single agency. There's some agencies that are real estate agencies that are single agencies. That's fine. The second one is going to be for 3% of a transaction broker. Partnership Realty is a transaction broker. So we'll put 3% there. And on line 124, on that check mark, we're going to check off that box, and it's 3% of a non-brokerage agency. That's an agency that's not affiliated with any board, so they're not realtors. These are licensed real estate associates. So these associates, if they can see this property being listed through Realtor.com, through Zillow, through Trulia, any of those. And if they do get asked and get showing instructions, and they do present you an offer, then we're going to pay them their 3%. Termination date. Termination on a contract. If a seller wants to terminate a listing agreement prior to the date of expiration, then again, something is negotiable, especially if you guys have put money into it, like, again, professional photos, virtual tours, drones, marketing, expenses like that. You'll want to put it in there. Dispute. Very important here that the seller initials where the seller's initials go, the sales associate, and the broker as well too. What that means is wherever the property is located at, if there is some type of dispute and we can't quite work it out, and if it's got to go into the civil court to mediation, it's going to be held wherever the property is located at. So if the property is located in Palm Beach County, then our mediation through the civil courts are going to be held here. But we need those boxes initialed. So we're going to come down, and again, you guys are going to go over all these paragraphs that we're kind of skipping through them. You guys are going to read them. You're going to get familiarized with them, so you guys can explain this listing agreement to the seller or sellers very accurately. Additional terms. Additional terms is anything additional. For example, let's say that the furniture, they want to sell the furniture with the sale of the home, or the patio furniture, or anything else. Let's say that the seller, they require after closings that they need to stay there for 2 months or 4 months or 30 days or 2 weeks. So any additional terms that's been negotiated with you, you want to make sure it's all written down under line 157 there, and it's starred because it's really important that we document everything stays in writing. So we're going to come down now. Seller's signatures are going to be required, the date, their phone, their email, their home address, and so forth. And if there's two of them, we want both of them to sign. Then if you go down to line 178, it says authorized sales associate or broker. That's where your signature or my signature is going to go. Then you're going to put down the brokerage firm, which is Partnership Realty, our phone number, and our address. Finally, what's most, and it's very important, is line 181, okay? A copy has been given to the seller or sellers, and we need a document by what date and how we gave it to them. Did we give it to this in person? Did we email it to them? Did we mail it to them? Or did we fax it? So please do fill in everything here. As you can see, it's really easy to fill out an exclusive listing agreement because it's truly just filling in the blanks. The more you practice with it, the better you're going to get, and the more professional you're going to seem when you go to sit down with a seller or sellers or a contractor, a builder, an investor, and you're going to be able to go through this listing agreement very, very thoroughly. It truly should take you no more than 10 minutes to fill this out, but you guys need to practice this at home and do read it at home. Tomorrow, we are going to be doing a class of a seller's net proceeds. So we will be we will contact you guys through Telegram. So do check, and you'll see what times we're going to be doing this. And it's going to be telling you guys exactly at what times. So we'll have this live tomorrow. I thank you very much for being here. You guys have a wonderful day.